How's it going, everybody? This is Jake again. As promised, I want to give you guys some dueling book replays. This is a replay of me playing against one of my friends. We were doing some testing. He has some upcoming events. Um, I know that he's on Blackwings, but I'm playing this game one how I would against any deck. Um, so yeah, we're gonna go over it we're gonna go through it that way. And I thought this was a pretty good match. It has a mix of like good plus bad hands, us each having good plus bad hands, us each blowing each other out at times. So I thought it was a pretty good match to go over. Um, yeah. So anyways, opened up three monsters. It's not ideal, but like three monsters is like the maximum that I'm okay with opening. It's a little monster heavy in my opinion, but that's fine. Um, it's debatable. You could summon one and set two. Um, you could also just set Dust if you knew you're playing against Blackwings. I opted to set two because in general I like that play the safest against the field. Um, so I'm gonna set Dust and Bottomless. If they heavy me, I'm only -1, and they'll commit to the field, and then we'll see how we go from there. And we at least have Book of Moon to help us run over things if we really need to. So, Healers, Rose Blizzard. Okay, so obviously I would know he's on Blackwings at this point. Sets one, sets two, sets a monster. So it's fair to assume he's setting up an Icarus. So right now I'm gonna end phase try to nab Icarus tech if I can. But if I can't, then I at least know that the other card is Icarus tech. So I think it's a win-win either way. Okay, so I'm assuming that other card is Icarus attack. We unfortunately drew another monster, so we're flooded anyways. So we don't really need to play around Icarus attack. We can just throw a monster into Icarus attack. That's what we're going to do. The reason we're throwing Laquari here into Icarus attack is because even though it's our strongest guy in hand, we already have a second copy of him in hand. And I'd rather Laquari go to grave than a quest go to grave. The quests I really want to get back in my deck. It really sucks having them both in hand, because right now I can't get stuff back from grave outside of Darius. Yep, get a stuff Icarus, that's fine. Opted to set the book. Might as well set the book just in case he draws Whirlwind plus Guy. Otherwise, I probably wasn't going to use it on that turn. Unfortunately, we drew another monster. As you can see, this hand is pretty bad. Now every single way of getting things back from grave is out of our hand. So I'm gonna assume that the first thing I throw into this field is an a quest. Sure, you risk it to a deep prison or a bottomless, um, but you really need to get one of those back in deck. Okay, that went through. So at this point, um, that could be an oppression. Either way, I need to test it. So like, I'm gonna tag now anyways. Um, I doubt that he's slow rolling bottomless. But if he is, then so be it. I probably wouldn't use the Book of Moon. I'd probably just accept that I lose the SDRE. So right now, Book of Moon's my only defense. Um, and yeah, I'd assume that he's either slow rolling bottomless or torrential, or that's like a Yada, because we already saw the legacy of Yada. So that's what I'm gonna put us on. But we're gonna tag anyways for the bestie. Okay. Yeah, I'm just glad I got rid of that. So that's good. I got rid of it, and we got an quest back in our deck. Okay, he didn't do anything. Figure you must have a hot hand. So now we're going to get back our Darius back in deck. So this way we have a Darius and an Quest back in deck. So we're somewhat rolling again. Still shocked he's not doing anything yet. Even though I don't really need GBs, I don't want to Retiari and leave something that gets ran over by a blizzard on the field really right now. Um, if I could force off a gale, that would be great. Just to run over my guy, sure. Um, so we're gonna go with the route, yeah, of a quest here. Um, and unfortunately, we don't have a Laquarian deck. If we had a Laquarian deck, we probably would have gone a 21 Laquari, to be honest. But either way, this plays fine. And this is the game where anytime I want to go into something, I seem to have two copies of it in my hand. So Whirlwind. So we're definitely using book here. Yep. You must have some flooded hand. Um, so it seems like we're both ones with not ideal hands, but I told people before, usually the GB ideal, not ideal hands can take advantage of an opponent's bad hand. So yeah, we're gonna Darius back this Bestiari. We're gonna tag for Retiari. In the case that he's stuck with Blizzards in hand, because he's had a couple of times where he could have played Sirocco, I believe, already. So it leads me to believe he might have like maybe two Blizzards in hand. So I'm gonna go ahead and um, I believe I got rid of his Collude here. Yep, got rid of his Collude in case he's trying to make a Blizzard live. We're gonna Geyserus, get rid of that. We're gonna leave the stronger second GB on the field. And we're just gonna set Chariot and pass. And we could set Mirror Force, but if he heavies, Siroko's, Gales, runs over everything, makes a Stardust, I'm boned. At least, or makes something else big, I'm boned. But like, at least Mirror Force is some sort of protection. So I'd rather just keep that in hand, because right now, I don't care if he just summons something, swings, run over Darius. I have Chariot, so we're fine. At this point, we've threatened like any turn now. I'm just gonna like Herc. So okay, so Sirocco. Yep. Here, really drawing all the JBs here. So we have Chariot. We're not afraid of Kalut. Okay, so I have to keep in mind that he now has Vayu plays live, and I believe we just Harakunos here, and the game's pretty over. Yep, effect, yeah. And I believe he tells me at some point um, afterwards that yeah, that first game, he had like three Gales in hand most of the game apparently. So that explains why his plays seemed very weird. Um, which we had a roughish hand, but obviously GBs can usually take advantage of a rough hand, of an opponent's rough hand. Um, So it's pretty easily it's easier to not get punished with your rough hand if your opponent has a rough hand too, because GBs tend to already just naturally take advantage of rough hands of other players. So I think anybody who's played against GBs knows that if you don't draw like reasonably well against them, you can really get they can really punish you. Um, so, anyways, this is a pretty good opening hand. This is super flexible. A lot of good cards that are good into Blackwings. So I'm not mad about it. The worst one's probably Shrink, but Shrink is flexible. Um, I just don't have like an easy out to Kalut, so it'll be better into Bottomless and Sidra, um, and better to be used as like a last minute defense rather than aggression. But we'll see whatever I need to do here. Yeah, he says he drew three Blizzard. Okay, so Shura plus back row. So it's way too ballsy to Laquari shrink into this. Obviously, if he collutes, um, I lose my monster, he gets a guy, and I'm fucked. So what we want to do is to get this Shura to run into an assailant, ideally. So we're going to assailant set one and pass. Now the reason that we're not setting multiple here, um, I really don't want I really don't want my opponent to Icarus 2 back row end phase. If they're gonna Icarus, I'd rather them just Icarus both of these. Um, and also the Dust end phase can set a Starlight Road if the Dust makes it that far. So I like the minimal, how minimal this is. I also like how it puts him in a scenario where if usually Blackwings will side Dust Tornado against you, if he end phase dusts me, he can be overly confident into my set, thinking maybe it's a Hoplomas, and run into Assailant. So there's like a few reasons for why I'm doing this. But either way, most of it's because of just how safe of a set Assailant is. Oh, that's an amazing play for me. So we're just going to Chain Dust, get rid of back row, and then set road. We set road here. That way, on our turn, it's live for an Icarus. Yep, we'll just banish. Okay, so that's one pass. So, our best play here is Laquari, for sure. And we're just going to swing into this guy. See if he has a Clute. He does. That's fine. The good thing is, he's now used a Colute. There's a, even though unfortunately our Retiari is not stronger than his Gale, the fact that he's already used one Colute should make Shrink a safer play if I need to use it to get over Gale next turn. I have Trap Hole stopping a new summon, and Starlight Road as um, Icarus protection. Yep, I take that. Okay, and we have a Deep Risen backup too if things fail, so that's good. So we're going to do the play I mentioned. Unfortunately here, he did have a second Colute, which is an insane blowout, unfortunately for me. Um, yeah, going -1 here sucks. So we're going to set the Deep Risen pass. We are even on card advantage, but he's definitely ahead on life. Because he started going first, so he started off with the +1. Prison, Trap Hole. Dark Arm's live, but I can't really play around that right now, so. Tiger. Bora, nothing we can do about that. We only have Starlight Road and Tiger, so we need to draw a GV or something that's going to kill a monster. That does not kill a monster. He needs to not summon anything, or else we lose the game. That's unfortunate. Yep, we lose the game. Unfortunate series of draws right there. But that second Kalute was really what blew us out there. And I think I played fine. I don't regret anything any way I played there that game. I think the beginning of that game went pretty stellar, to be honest. It was just unfortunate that he had the two Kalutes at the time that it perfectly countered um, my shrink. So unfortunate. And then obviously I drew back-to-back cards that could not help deal with a board. Obviously this hand's great. Um, Anybody would know that, right? So this is a really good feeling opening. Now I do have to keep in mind that I do only have one monster in hand that does things. Um, so I need to make sure that card's going to be protected when I play it. So we're just going to set Dust Pass. I'm really comfortable with this play into Blackwings. If they summon a monster swing, I'll take it. If they if they whirlwind a monster, I can dust. If they just summon a monster swing, set one or set two, I can end phase dust, and then set my solemn judgment. So it just feels good all around. This one's interesting. We needed to talk back and forth and look up the ruling. I wasn't sure if all my dusts get removed from my deck, and it looks like the ruling is that as long as my dust is chained, all my dust tornadoes don't get removed from my deck. So I chained dust on Nobleman to set my solemn judgment. Okay, Bora pass. Okay, so right here, I rescue cat. I didn't want to blind MST because two things. Actually, well, one main thing is I really need to stop oppression here. Um, I don't feel like Salaming the oppression if he has it. I'd rather stop the second card. Solemn can stop a needed card. I have Book of Moon too. I feel just better about holding the MST. I don't need to blind do it. I'd also like to bait Nicaris right here without using the MST as well. But ultimately, the Solemn is the biggest reason that I didn't MST. I don't think I need to MST. I think I can cause more havoc on his board without um, doing anything. And also, right here, a beautiful thing here actually is that if I go cat, let's say his back row is like Icarus and Bottomless, right? If I go cat here, or it's Icarus Oppression, um, and I go cat effect, um, and then I summon two, or cat effect and the oppression, I can, um, if I wanted to, I can instead chain Solemn, get out the two guys, call priority with Tiger, and the entire time you're playing around Icarus because you don't have two guys on field. Same thing with Solemn, or same thing, sorry, with Bottomless. If I summon Sam Knight Tiger from deck and my opponent goes Bottomless, I can chain Solemn, and now um, obviously I did, assuming I do priority with Tiger, now they can't Icarus me. And now I get to pop with Ramillo, I get to swing, do a free tag, pop the back row, and I'm like +3. It's crazy. Um, or +2 because I went first, but yeah. So that's what we're going with here. So I'm basically trying to get a bunch of free value, baiting the non-Icarus card into getting a free Icarus pop. Yep, so what I thought would happen, happened. One of my options, at least. It's a bottomless, so I'm going to Solemn. I call priority on Tiger, so because it's spell suite 3, if he does have Icarus, he cannot chain Icarus. So that resolves. I get Marmillo. Icarus cannot legally be chained. So, alright. And then I go and attack. If it's Zebra's in here, either way I went plus. We have SDRE back row. And it's Icarus. And now we're super ahead. We went +2 on that interaction. The game is like pretty much done. Um, as long as I don't fuck up, I should just have this game locked. Um, if I MST'd, I would have only went +1 in that interaction at most. Um, it could have been worse too. If I MST'd the Icarus and he went chain, blow up your Solemn, um, then I wouldn't have had a Solemn to protect my cat from Bottomless, and I would have had to book it. And now I have no defense because I used my MST, my Solemn, and my book, and it would just be a bad interaction. And this one turned out way better. Here I'm just figuring out what cards I want to set. We're opting for both. we're already ahead in card advantage. We can afford to set both, and we have an assailant that can keep us in the game next turn. A tiger can keep any GB in the game. We're pretty good about our position. Yep, we're gonna book here because we don't want him to special summon any Boras or Gales because we don't have anything to defend against them. We're gonna end phase, obviously, because we're gonna keep trying to roll the advantage here. So I don't side Segitor into this matchup, but we do need another GB card, so we are gonna Tiger for Sam Knight. Let's get the search. We do want the War Chariot here. Yeah, we want the War Chariot here. Gives us some effect negation. We feel good about that banish because I have Book of Moon as alongside Chariot, so it's not like you can just summon something and run over Maratiari. Okay, okay, interesting play line. So looks like he's trying to set up his grave, and he knows my Retiari can't tag for Retiari. Trying to use the assailant, so I'm gonna stop that book. So I'm gonna Sam Knight again, so when I run over his guy, I get another search. So we drew Darius. Um, we had a couple things that we could have done here. Um, but I opted to just get my search and assailant trade with him and set up Laquari Hopalomus set. Good anti-brain control play, and it sets up a Herc next turn. We're gonna War Chariot, and the game's over. Um, yeah, so I hope that was an interesting match for you guys to watch and that you guys enjoyed it. Um, it yeah, Blackwings is I tend to be one of my more favorite games to go over because I think it's a very back and forth match, and I think the decks have surprisingly similar play styles in the way they're trying to control the game with resources. Um, and classically, it's considered a hard match for GBs, but I know um, my deck's built to play against Blackwings, so it feels good for me to play into it, obviously. But I do like the way the matchup ends up going. It feels like a very back and forth um, matchup that I think is entertaining to watch. I hope you guys thought the same.